Hey, welcome to the You Ask, the Pros Answer podcast. Your questions answered by the pros you trust. My name is Cole. I'm one of the hosts on the show, and I am excited today because I get to introduce you to my friend and teammate, Josh King. You might know Josh from his mini-series on Pro Exterior social channels called King's Corner, or you might recall an episode back in season 1 where he and Aaron Rodgers were taking a road trip down south. And on that trip, Aaron and Josh had a conversation all about what it is to be a project coordinator or a project manager. Well, today is a continuation of sorts of that conversation. You'll get to hear more about Josh's work experience prior to joining the team at Pro Exteriors. You'll get to hear about the customer service aspect of his role. And then you'll get to hear a little bit about some of the materials that he enjoys working on, some of his favorite projects. Now, this is a 2-part conversation, so stick around today for part 1, and then be sure to come back next Friday for the culmination of their conversation. Without further ado, here is Aaron Rodgers' conversation with Josh King. This is the You Ask, the Pros Answer podcast. Do you have questions about an upcoming exterior contracting project? We've got answers. Welcome to the You Ask, the Pros Answer podcast.
Josh, how long have you been with the team here?
I've been at Pro Exteriors for going on 4 years.
4 long, arduous years.
Long years.
Longer for some of us, obviously, than others.
Everybody else.
So, Josh, tell me a little bit about your background. Where were you from? Are you from Sussex County originally? Where were you prior to coming on board with Pro Exteriors? Give me a little bit about, family life, what that looks like. Just give me the whole background.
All right. Well, I've always been in some forms of construction in one way or another.
Okay.
I've done a lot of concrete and some miscellaneous framing and stuff like that. And before I came here, I was doing welding, fabricating, millwright type work for about 5 years. And then got married, talking about having kids, and working 7 days a week, 365 wasn't really in the cards for my wife anymore at the time. So
makes sense.
Started looking for something local, and that didn't have all the travel in it. And came across good old Pro Exteriors here and jumped right in.
And that's when the nightmare began.
That's when it started. Downhill from there.
So welding, framing, concrete work, little bit of everything. Now, I heard a rumor that part of your wedding vows was that you were no longer allowed to touch any sort of electrical wiring.
Yeah, my wife told me I could put anything in there I wanted to put in there. So
okay, and
we made our own vows, and I told her that I vowed that I would always hire out electrical work, so I didn't have to touch it anymore.
And what's the reasoning behind that? Did you have a bad experience? Did you almost burn something down? Did sticking it on the end of your tongue, you lost your taste buds there for a while? What happened?
Yes to all of the above.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In welding, I was shocked a lot of times.
Okay.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
And almost caught a house. Well, did catch a house on fire just picking up a wire and putting it down that was live, and was unaware of that.
Yeah.
But I got a garden hose and put it out, so that was fine.
So it all worked out.
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
Okay. And you, I know we had talked before about your welding, and sometimes in welding situations, you were working like literally in standing water while welding.
Oh yeah.
Now, I'm not a welder. I don't know if you knew that.
I was aware.
I have never welded.
Right.
Have never really had the opportunity nor the gumption to say I'd like to learn how to weld. But there is current involved in welding.
Lots of it.
And typically current and water, especially when you're standing in the water, not a great mixture.
It's not.
It's not.
You're
Okay.
soaking wet and it just pulses through you.
Pulses.
Yeah, pulses.
Great word. I'm going to write that one down.
You got to finish your job so you can get out of the water.
Yeah.
But it needs done. So you got to go ahead and.
That sounds horrific.
It was pretty rough.
Okay. And a lot of that stuff was done like nights, weekends, right? Because it's like factory work. So you're doing it while the factory's not operational.
Yeah, exactly.
Which typically means at night
and
on the weekends
and holidays and all across the eastern side of the United States.
And your wife wasn't interested in that life?
She didn't seem very happy about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Something about me being home and helping with the kids and I don't know, weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
So now you've been here almost 4 years and you've got 2 children now and you're still married.
Yep.
Still married. Great.
Happily married.
That's a good, that's another word I'm going to write down.
Yeah.
Happily. Okay. So happily married, 2 kids, here 4 years-ish, little under, little over.
Right.
Okay.
In the ballpark.
So you came on here and, project manager position pretty much from the jump. Yeah. How much of what you brought with you would you say that you used on a daily basis when you first started? And how much has your skill set kind of grown in the 4 years as far as expanding into kind of new territory, new knowledge, new skill sets?
Well, the knowledge I brought with me was as far as materials and installation procedures, it was like zero. Close to. not really zero, but very, very minuscule, very minute compared to
minus school. I think
minus school.
That was minus school. Minus school. Yep.
I didn't know not a nothing.
Not a near thing.
As what they say.
Gotcha.
So I brought some knowledge of structural integrity.
Okay.
And the drive to figure things out.
Yeah.
And brought that with me.
Yeah.
And
which is a huge piece of the pie, mind you.
Yeah.
Having the gumption or the ability to troubleshoot and figure things out on the fly and not always, relying essentially the people that are around you at all times.
Right.
I mean, that's a huge thing, especially, being in the field, being, there when the work is actively being done. Things are always bound to pop up. Always. Yeah. So having that ability to kind of look at something and say, hey, something needs to be done here, and being able to say, I think this will work or this will work. I always love it when I get a phone call and they're like, hey, we have an issue. This needs to happen. I think we can do this. I always love the phone calls where people have a solution in mind before I get the phone call.
Right.
So I don't have to go in and look at the photos and be like, all right, can you FaceTime me real quick? And
figure it out in the office or in the truck instead of standing there looking at it like somebody else could do.
Yeah. 100%.
That's ideal.
So project managing sounds like a really simple job title. You're just managing projects.
Yeah, I guess theoretically it sounds simple.
Super, super simple.
Okay.
Yeah. So are you saying it's not quite as simple as it sounds?
No, I would say not.
It has a little bit more curves and corners to it. Okay.
Oh yeah, lots of them.
So what's the day-to-day look like for you? What does project management entail? What goes in that box? You got to fill the box with all the stuff you do on a day-to-day basis. What does that go in that box?
We're going to need a bigger box.
Okay.
Showing up to jobs, managing crews, managing jobs, as it says in the title of job management, materials, deliveries, scheduling, making sure people are where they're supposed to be and everything's arrived that is supposed to be there, and trying to look past the current time of what's coming, what problems are going to arise, and planning for remedying those issues. And
you're trying to forecast for not just what's currently active but in the process of doing this, we're probably going to have to touch that. forecasting for not only today, but for tomorrow and possibly a week after today. And
Right.
And you do that for multiple jobs at a time.
Mm-hmm.
You keep all those balls juggling up in the air.
Oh yeah.
So the one part about that I didn't hear you say, which I personally think is one of the most crucial parts of your day-to-day job, and the part that I think that almost everybody here should give you more credit for, is customer service.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that I'm not really sure you ever really get the credit for the amount of customer service that you actually do. And technically, from a salesperson's position and from, one of the admins here in the office, the admins are the first introduction to the company. And they're the ones that are essentially kind of giving that first look at what type of company are we friendly? Can we do what you need to be done? And then a sales guy goes out and, they promise them, we can do everything you want to do. Yeah. And they sell what they can see.
Mm-hmm.
And then the reality of that is once it's sold and it goes into production, it's your baby from that point forward.
Right.
Typically, if we have an issue on a job site, you're the first person to get yelled at or spoken to or asked a question that maybe you weren't necessarily thinking you were going to get asked today.
Correct.
So not only do you deal with, people that are a little bit upset, but you also deal with the happy ones, which, just for clarification, we have far more happy customers than we do upset customers.
Absolutely.
But we always have, you're always going to have somebody that's upset about something. So the customer service part, I think that's the part where you didn't put it into the box, but I feel like that is a huge part of your job. Yeah. Customer service with the customers, with the crews, with the suppliers, with the people at Lowe's, the people at Home Depot. Every interaction you have is customer service, right?
Absolutely.
Now, I'm not sure that was in the job description.
Right.
But I feel like you took it in stride. I feel like you do really, really well with that. And I want to give you a little attaboy, we'll say.
Oh, thanks, man.
So
put that in.
Give me a little insight. Yeah, put that, keep it for later. Don't tell anybody, please.
No.
So tell me about that. So do you like dealing with customers face to face? Is that something you enjoy, or is it a necessary evil, we'll say?
No, I like the people aspect of it. I like the specifically the happy customers. I'm a big fan of dealing with happy customers,
which we have by far more happy than upset.
Far more, honestly. Thousands of happy customers to every one unhappy. The unhappy ones can be rough.
Yeah.
But the the happy interactions I have are, all day, every day. And like you said, whether it's Lowe's or Home Depot or a supplier or a dumpster driver or, even the people in the office.
Yeah.
The communication and the interaction with everybody is a great part of my job. That's one of the, teaching customers and learning from even the crews or anybody else about what they have specifically going on is a awesome part of my job, I think.
So Cole and I recorded a podcast. I don't remember if it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And I gave you a little shout out on that podcast about God bless Josh, because what he does, I couldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically talking about, trying to be on a job site, babysitting. That's what I call it. Babysitting a job all day long. I would rip my hair out. It's, I've tried to do it. I can usually get an hour and a half or 2 hours into a job before I'm like, I just got to go somewhere. I'll come back, but I've got to go somewhere.
Right.
So do you find what you do on a day-to-day basis, do you find it to be incredibly boring, or do you find it to be?
It has some boring days. Your run-of-the-mill job, you're doing a roof that's up and over and no plywood issues, very few protrusions through the roof. I mean, no problems arise. It can be a little monotonous at times, but every single job has its own unique, situations,
Right.
whatever they are. And I absolutely despise just sitting still, standing and watching somebody work. I can't do it.
Agreed.
I just mentally, physically, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So I'm always doing something, whether I'm picking up trash or whether I'm, talking to a roofer or a siding guy or a customer or the dumpster driver, deliveries, whatever. I'm looking to what's coming the next day or looking around the house to see what might be an issue or just
finding snakes.
Yeah. I look
notating poison ivy or poison oak.
Oh, yeah. I keep an eye out for that too. Usually after I've dug through it with my bare hands and legs.
That's the easiest way to find it.
Yeah. It's a pretty good way. But I just, the way you said, I just can't just sit there and do nothing. I'll go crazy.
Yeah.
And our amazing marketing team has been teaching me how to do different things with the drone. So I've been burning through some drone batteries trying to do different things with the drone. And there's I'm not very computer oriented or
technology.
Yeah, technology is not one of my strong suits. And so whenever I learn something like that, I kind of hone in on it and
another tool for the toolbox.
That's right. Make the most of it.
Yep.
Yeah. More hands-on, but
so of all the projects that we typically handle, I always say it super fast. I get so good at this. Roofing, siding, windows, doors, decks, porches, gutter guards.
Yeah.
And then some other miscellaneous crap we don't really talk about.
Yeah.
So out of all the things that we do, like our normal scope of work, which project would you say what do you enjoy project managing more? If you had to say top three.
Top three, I would say roofing, decks and porches, and as a singular, and then I guess I'd put windows up there next.
Okay.
I would add siding in there. Those jobs, they're not as fast paced.
Yeah.
As a roofing job or as a deck or porch job.
Yeah.
You're not in and out, with a siding job, but as far as transforming a home, then I would do roofing and siding and then decks and porches as my top three.
Okay. So roofing would be your bread and butter. It's our bread and butter as a company, but roofing would be your bread and butter. If you had the choice, you'd say roofing is my go-to. That's what I would want to supervise the most of.
Yeah.
Okay. And of all the roofing materials we've installed in your tenure here, what would you say is a product that you would say is like a highlight? Like that was gorgeous. That was like, I definitely want to do more of that. Or do you like to keep it simple?
I do like to keep it simple. The bread and butter, the not having to walk through every single step of a new product with an entire roofing crew.
Yeah.
But I would say the Bravo tiles that we did were really cool. The recycled plastic material, all of that was
gorgeous product.
Yeah, very, very pretty.
Yeah.
And all the different colors that they still offered, and it's all recycled material is just really cool to me. I thought it was really pretty. Turned out really pretty.
Yeah, so really awesome product in its own accord.
Right.
Like the fact that it's recycled, the fact that you can get it in almost every color, shape, size, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's awesome.
Yeah.
As far as like, this is real wood cedar shake and this is its lifespan. And here's an alternative product that looks just like it. That's never going to fade. That's never going to rot.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome. And
Right.
then at the end of the day, like, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
You know, higher degree of installation,
Mhm.
a little bit more oversight needed because, you know, one little mistake can cost a lot. You know, one small nail and you get a few courses above that. If you got to rip material out, that is a nightmare. And we, you know, we were fortunate that house was gorgeous.
Right.
I mean, it was a beachfront property and 3 stories tall, all hip roofs. I mean, it was gorgeous. And Josh did his thing with the drone photos on that with what was it, a little later in the afternoon or a little later in the evening, and there was all the landscape lighting was on, and man, that was that was some pretty cool shots.
Yeah. It was beachfront and lakefront. Right.
Yeah, which you don't often get in coastal Delaware.
No.
Yeah, I would say there's probably not going to be many places in our territory where you can be beachfront and lakefront.
I don't believe so.
No. It's technically more of a pond, but we'll get to that later.
Called a lake. It's in the name.
All right, that is all we have for part 1 of this 2-part conversation. Be sure to come back next Friday where Josh shares one of his nightmare projects when things did not exactly go to plan. Hey, would you please help us get the word out about the show? The best way to do that is to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, share the show with a friend simply by telling them about it, or if you are watching on YouTube, would you please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Also, before we go, we want to hear from you. What are some of the questions that you would like for us to tackle on an upcoming episode? You can simply send your questions to info@askproexteriors.com and put "you ask" in the subject. If you are facing an upcoming home project, we hope this episode has empowered you to tackle it with confidence. Remember, knowledge is power, and a little research can go a long way. Until next time, happy homeowning. The You Ask the Pros Answer podcast is produced in-house by the Pro Exteriors team. Pro Exteriors is the exterior contracting division of Empire Construction Group, LLC. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal advice. For more answers to your questions, please subscribe to this channel and podcast so you'll never miss an episode. Do you have an upcoming home remodeling project? Find more answers to your questions at askproexteriors.com. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Would you please help us out by hitting that subscribe button? That would be awesome. Also, if you never want to miss another one of our uploads, please be sure to hit that notification bell. All right, thanks. See ya.
Subscribe.